Doing well. It's been a gigantic week. Started off with a ugly Monday Night Football loss to the Detroit Lions that took on blowout proportions and was embarrassing to even those who are football fans just looking for a great game, right? But it featured a litany of moments, including one where Jimmy Garoppolo, Raiders quarterback, was sacked not once, not twice, but on three consecutive downs. Okay. Leading to the question of the day, almost a modern chant: who does that? Well, they did it. Our team, the once Oakland Raiders, for a little bit Los Angeles Raiders, now Las Vegas Raiders, did it. And it doesn't matter whether it's Oakland, LA, or Las Vegas, it's our team. So you say once a Raider, always a Raider. You don't want to see the Raiders, your team, our team, us embarrassed. And yet this is clearly something that collectively we could have do about it. And they have to do it on the field, but they were badly coached and badly directed. How else to explain what we saw on the field? The bad blocking, the off pass timing, the penalties, the wide open wide receiver that your quarterback can't hit, even though your quarterback is healthy enough to actually overthrow that person. The list goes on and on and on. So at what point you have to say, well, when does it stop? And that's where Mark Davis, the owner, came in and said, after arguing with fans in SoFi Stadium 2 weeks before, okay, I get it. I'm going to pull the trigger. Great. He did. So where do we go from here? Well, Mark has partially answered that question by hiring Antonio Pierce and as the head coach of the organization, and then added as general manager, hopefully to remain other than just an interim period, uh, as his teammate, if you will, Champ Bailey, because their front office team. And I have to remark that compared to the New Orleans Saints, I kid you not, the Raiders have, and really, if you compare them to any other corporation, a great representative of people of number of people of color in the front office, not referring to the coaching staff, but I mean in the front office, from the president to sales to scouting, people who look like me. For the Saints, if I put a photograph of their front office right now, you would see 86% white male. And at that, older white male, in other words, middle aged and up, one white female, and other than the owner, that's it. The owner is, of course, older and white female, and that's it. It's an embarrassing look today, but it also points to a lot of decisions the Saints have made. They have Derek Carr and why they brought Carr in rather than elevating Jameis Winston. But that's another story. We're talking about Derek's former team, the Las Vegas Raiders. And so, what do you think of the speech that Coach Pierce and General Manager Champ Bailey gave? Well, I'll tell you what I thought. I thought it was a lot of rah-rah and no substance that I'm looking for. But if you understand what they communicate the problem to be, then you say, okay, I get it. And the problem is that they had someone in the face of Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler who came from the Patriots way and didn't understand the Raider way. And it was quite clear that they were facing a number of problems injecting their way into the Raider way, which anybody who knows both organizations could have seen coming. But Mark apparently did it out of a fit of pick. Well, it didn't work. There is nothing wrong with the Raider way. And what is the Raider way? The Raider way really is about us versus them. It started with that. It started with the idea that they're the renegades. The Raiders are the organization that does things others only think about, like, for example, making Art Shell the first black head coach in the NFL, or Amy Trask, the first female CEO of an NFL organization. You know the story, all right? Those are the Raiders. But right now, we have the Raiders in Las Vegas, and they've carried for the tradition by making Sandra Morgan the first female black president of any NFL organization. But that's off the field. The problems are clearly on the field. And so, with that in mind, I put together this list of how I think the Raiders should move forward beyond the rah rah and the hoop ha ha and the whole let's go get them, us versus them ideology that the Raiders are known for. First of all, fix the passing game. The passing game for the Raiders athletically is just fine. They have great players. But the problem, and when I say fix it, I'm very specific regarding play designs and routes. And it's not a tall order. It's actually, just the establishment of some simple rules. For example, for plays calling for the split end to run an in pattern or an out pattern, give them the option route so that they're not stuck seeing that the cornerback is taking off or taking away the in pattern. They can cut out, provided, of course, they're not the end receiver in the slot. But if they were, they wouldn't be the split end anyway, would they? So, or what we want to avoid is a situation like, well, this one, I'll show you with Devonta Adams here, okay? And watch what happens, folks. This is something that I chronicled because it was alarming. Take a look.
Hey everyone, here's what's wrong with the Raiders offense. That's Devonta Adams on the left, Cam Sutton, the number one cornerback for the Lions, on the right. Cam is lined up inside Adams, as you can see. Look at the 40s. Note that you've got Mr. Sutton slightly closer to the 40 than Adams. That means he's inside Adams. So if he's running a route, it would be great for him to have an option route where he turns out, right, and runs the out pattern, right? But guess what he has to do in the Raiders offense? Watch this. Okay, he stops. Maybe he's going to turn out, right? Maybe he has an option, right? No, he turns in, right where Cam Sutton is. And guess what? Guess where the ball is going? It's going in that direction. How stupid, okay? And you wonder why the Raiders have problems, all right? You wonder why the Raiders have problems. That's coaching. That's coaching. Adams is only doing what he is instructed to do on that play. The play is stupidly designed. Give him the option of turning a route when the space is available, where it is obviously that here. Subscribe to Zenny62 on YouTube and bookmark OaklandNewsNowBlog.com and Zenny62.com.
So that's what I'm getting at. Making adjustments like that shouldn't be. That ball, by all rights, should have been picked off. Why? Because Sutton was in perfect position to get that ball. He didn't. He was probably as shocked as anyone else was that Garoppolo was actually throwing it in his direction, which is why the cameras came to be on that situation anyway, right? So that's one big fix that's got to be made. Option routes, giving the players, and you have to practice these, of course, giving the players the ability to, well, make an on-field alteration of the play rather than stuck with something that they can't fix and causes turnovers and incompletions, right? That's the first one, all right? Then the second one is to run 4-by-1 formations and use them to isolate receivers to split end, all right? Starting with Devonta Adams and then Hunter Renfrow. And if you don't understand what I mean when I talk about, 4-by-1 formations, a 4-by-1 formation is it's simply 4 receivers to one side, okay? And then the one receiver to the other. And it's a way of isolating your best player, your best pass catcher on a defender that, hey, yeah, you know what? It's not going to be in the proper position to cover that person. And it's really important to set up and direct ahead of time your formation to take advantage of a defense in the way that I'm discussing, so that you're really isolating, all right? Isolating the defender you want to take advantage of. The Raiders don't do a lot of that and haven't done a lot of that at all under Josh McDaniels. And it's shocking. You'd think that he would, by now, be prepared to, establish this kind of approach. But no, not at all. Never showed that he was up to the task of creating formations and plays which do that, what I just described. And I'm going to show you where the Raiders under Rich Bisaccia actually had done that, and based on a play design I came up with and sent to the Raiders months before, and found, hey, was pleased to
Watch
find,
football all season.
Was pleased to find showing up as I was watching the Raiders take on the opponent you're about to see. And so, because this formation does just that, but the Raiders had slightly other way of looking at it. Here is the video that I made on that basis. Hey, Ray, how you doing? He says, I mean, how is that a genius play caller? McDum was played by Tom Brady, plain and simple. I'll take out the insult part. I'm not for that, because I understand people are upset and everything else, but at some point you have to drill down to actual repairs and stop the kind of dialogue that, an 11-year-old can do. Okay. So hold on a second. We're not 11. At least I'm not. But my point is that here is what the Eagle offense, and you can get an idea of what I'm thinking about with respect to what I want to see the Raiders do right here. And not only that the Raiders actually
Eagle
used.
Offense, updated August 28th, 2001. None other than Tony Franklin, former Cal offensive coordinator and creator of the Tony Franklin system, wrote, "The attention to detail and the time you spend on your playbook ideas is a dedication unseen by most. Your love for the game is obvious and makes you much more committed than any reporter or fan. Good job." The intent of the Eagle offense is stated right here: to leave the seams and weak side flat open for attack via the quick pass, and to make short, quick passes more effective. The Eagle offense is based on my obsession with the 2007.
See that right there? There is the example. 4 wide receivers to one side. Single approach there. Sonny Dykes used this formation when he coached at Cal, among other people. Go ahead.
New England Patriots offense. This is the base formation and play. I call it eagle right or left, H fly motion belly, 1 cross fly pass. Here, as you can see, the primary receiver, the number 1.
And that gets into the weeds. I'm going to go forward a bit because we really discuss the techniques in this video. But where I'm going to go is to where the Raiders actually use the formation right here.
Fake and throw here or here. So I sent my playbooks to the Las Vegas Raiders, and on week 11.
You see that? 4-by-1. This is what I'm talking about. You didn't see this under McDaniels. This was under the Raiders when you had Greg Olson as offensive coordinator and Rich Bisaccia was the interim head coach. But this is a playbook set that I originally designed for John Gruden, who's asked for my plays. So I've seen my concepts used by John as well. So it's not that I got it in because John wasn't there. Quite the contrary. But I digress.
Against the Washington football team, they actually used a variation of the formation, as you can see. This. The difference is that the Raiders put the 2 of the 4 wide receivers on what I call the wing side or the eagle side, close together and wing here. Rather,
yeah, they did it as kind of a gimmick. They put Mariota in at the slot, over the second slot, right over here. Okay, where I'm circling it. All right, right there. Okay, and I'm not saying use it as a gimmick. I'm saying put your best slot person there and tight end here. But I digress.
rather than spreading out the.
And let me get to a point where we actually run it. Okay, because I'm getting a little bit too in the weeds there. Okay, here we go.
They did design a play that got Foster Moreau here open, who picked up 34 yards. It was a big play.
Watch what happens.
Let's watch it in action.
1, 2, 3, and he lets it go. This is Derek Carr. Boom! You see that?
There he goes.
Nice. Okay.
See that? It's happened really fast.
All right. And I contend, I'm going to stop right there. Okay. I contend that play would have worked even better if Mariota had not been in the slot, because it's like they're not taking him seriously. They don't have him where you could expect Mariota to say, get the ball to execute a double pass, right? Having Mariota there was absolutely ridiculous. But let's say that they had put, someone like Josh Jacobs there, or you get the idea, okay? Imagine a guy like Jimmy Graham in that position who would really excel. You get the idea, okay? So again, exotic use of formations to create matchups. And they got matchups with Moreau down the middle for 34 yards, and they threw on time. Did you see that? Carr went back, took 1, 2, and on his third step, ball gone. On time for completion. That's precision passing, okay? And so, and then I say, and I talked about that, I said run 4x1 and then use them to isolate receivers that split in, starting with Devonta Adams and then Hunter Renfrow, and then mix in the tight ends, then design some pass plays to the 4 side of the 4x1 formation to keep the opponent's offense guessing. In other words, decide where you have 4 receivers, okay? Make sure the plays have motion, either across or in or out on the 4 side. You didn't see motion in the Raiders example I showed you. Bad thing. All right. 3, design unbalanced line run plays. Unbalanced. All right. Where there are 2 tight ends on one side and an extra offensive line blocker as wing. And you have 2 of the plays passes, of course, 1 run, and then, of course, 1 play action. You can expand from there. The purpose is to have power running in the red zone as part of a package of plays specifically designed to score within the red zone. And the total package, as I see it, will be more expansive than what I'm talking about. All right. Then 4, throw to the backs out of play action most of the time and not once in a while. Make the defense respect the backs and then set the backs up as pass catchers and thereby make the possibility that your wide receivers will score touchdowns on long passing attempts much more possible. All right. Then 5, and this is the big issue. And I pointed this out, okay, when I'm talking with you about the problem with Josh McDaniels and his offense a long time ago. And that's this annoying pass block problem. Yeah, a problem where the offensive linemen are too quick to retreat, okay? And they give up ground. And what happens almost invariably is the quarterback gets sacked. And this happens a lot. And so I say you need to fix this, you need to fix this, you need to fix this. And they did nothing about it. And the problem continued to Monday night. All right. Completely continued. And without repair. Okay. Without repair. I'm not going to bother to show you the video. I'll just simply say that they, instead of admitting their problems, what Josh McDaniels would do, remember, he did this with Alex Leatherwood. Remember Alex Leatherwood, the Mike Mayock draftee? Well, when Josh came in, he did everything he could to try to make Leatherwood look bad. And it was discovered that, hey, Alex Leatherwood was a pretty good blocker on the run when you pull him out. Well, that's something that anyone could figure out if they had a varied offensive design. But Josh didn't do that. And something else too. If Josh is responding to Mark's edict and saying, I want this and that, Josh has to be, and the next head coaches have to be strong-minded enough to say, well, we're not going to do it that way. We're going to do it this way because our data takes us in that direction. Our analysis takes us in that direction. Because if you're not strong-minded, Mark will try to run over you. But you have to remind him that you're working on the behalf of his organization and, of course, his pocketbook. So it's okay to be a little stubborn with someone who's going to be stubborn back anyway. Mark wants you to have an argument. He wants you to know what you're talking about so that you can convince him. All right? That's what you got to do in this role. You can't just shine him on with platitudes, Runsell Raider, all this other stuff. You can do that only so much. But if it's not translating to wins on the field, guess what? It's going to sound like nothing. Nothing. Because it essentially means nothing. It's not delivering anything. It's costing losses, which translates into lost opportunities and sponsorships, which means lost opportunities to make money. So you can't do that. You have to understand offensively how to build an approach, argue with the approach, and then make it work on the field. All right, you have to explain it to your players first, and you have to listen to what your players want and what kind of adjustments they want. But everybody loves structure, folks. If you don't have structure, how is anyone else supposed to have any confidence that you know what you're doing? And if you can't communicate that confidently, folks are not going to have any reason to have any confidence in what you're saying. You can't just come up and say, we're going to be tough and we're going to be all this other stuff that people heard all the way back to the days of Rudy. You have got to understand what it means from a technical perspective to put an offense that works on the field and have it operate consistently week in and week out. You can't do that, you're not long for the job. So my other suggestion is, having said that, again, have the offensive linemen use their arms in pass blocking, kind of like the Steelers did under Dan Rakatovich. All right. Very effective in forming a pass blocking circle, okay, or pocket. Really works. Have your offensive linemen work out to the point where when they throw that punch like this, and I mean like closed hands, I mean like that the defensive linemen recoil, and that recoil and then recovery buys time for the quarterback to complete the pass. Okay. That's the intent. All right. The Raiders right now do not do that. They've got to do it. All right. So, again, my belief is the improved offense will keep the ball longer. I didn't mention the defense because the defense does a great job, but it's too often put in the situations that are untenable because of its offense. I mean, look, 3 interceptions. Need I say more? Not able to finish drives. I could say more than those two, right? But you get the idea. All right. So I'm really convinced that the problem is with the Raiders' offense. And very simply, the Raiders have the blueprint for how to build a great passing offense. Mark Trestman did it when he was offensive coordinator, and those tapes are around the building and online and on YouTube. If nothing else, copy elements of what Mark had done and incorporate them into the current offense. And I dare say the terminology is not different. There we go. All right, folks. Subscribe to Zenny62 and bookmark Oakland News Now blog.com and ZennyReport.com. That ends this broadcast. I'll see you.